Hi, this is Karl with Relax, Focus, Succeed, and today I want to talk about mental time versus physical time. What does that mean? Well, physical time is the time that most of us think about, that, it takes an hour to do an hour's job, right? We get paid by the hour, we get paid by the day, we get paid by the month. Those are all time, physical time, as measured by the outside world. And I want to talk about the time inside your head because they're not the same thing. And in particular, I want to talk about how this is related to the cutting back of activities that have been the subject of several of my videos and blog posts in the last month or two. I recently stopped doing one of my podcasts, and the time that I thought I was going to get back was about an hour or sometimes an hour and a half with my team to hang out, talk to each other, BS, look over the news, talk about things that we were interested in, plan our show, and then record the show. Maximum 2 hours in a week. I also know that from time to time I would look through news and I would throw things into a bucket, and we had a document, a shared document that we would all use. And so I figured somewhere between half an hour to an hour a week is spent throwing things into that document so that we can make sure that we've got what we need, enough topics for that, focused time when we actually make the recording. So when I thought about quitting, I thought about that, and then, okay, I don't do the production anymore, but every once in a while I have to discuss something about an advertiser or produce an ad for the podcast or produce some graphics for the podcast, something like that. So I figured, okay, that's at most another half hour a week on average. Okay, so when I put all that together, I think that I'm going to save 2.5, 3 hours at the outset, at the worst case, best case scenario, 4 hours a week on the podcast. And 4 hours is a lot of time. Don't get me wrong, when you chop it into 8-hour days. But I didn't take into consideration the mental time. It turns out, after only having 2 weeks where I haven't been doing shows, that I have a lot of extra time in my schedule. More than the 3 or on the outset 4 hours that I thought I would have. And there's a few reasons for this. And most of it has to do with the way that your brain operates. So if you think about it, you start your day with a certain amount of energy, and that naturally just goes downhill, boop, 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 as you go through your day. Your mental energy goes down as your physical energy goes down. So you have more willpower in the morning hours than you do in the evening hours. You have more stamina in the morning hours than you do in the evening hours. You have more energy in the morning hours than you do in the evening hours. And you have more brain power in the morning than you do in the evening. So there's this natural decrease over time of the amount of mental energy you have for tasks. So I want you to keep that in mind, because the reality is you also have a limited number of things that you can pay attention to. So let's say that you've got in the course of a week, you've got 41-hour slots that you could fill up. Realistically, you cannot fill them up. Realistically, if you did 40 different things, you would be so overwhelmed that you just couldn't handle it. And so when we talk about being overwhelmed, it's because we put too many things into a small area. And that small area, sorry about this, it's between your ears. So it turns out that putting together this one podcast, which I loved, and it gave me a lot of energy, and it gave back to me some of the energy that it took to produce the podcast. So that's all cool. But the reality is that it took additional planning time, that when I was not consciously aware of it, I was using some of the energy available to me to think about where does that podcast fit into the day, fit into the week? I do have a deadline where things have to get into this document, the shared document, before the recording begins. I do have to spend some time with the team sort of talking about where we're going and what we're doing. You know, all of those things take some energy, and it's not just the hours that you can place on a calendar. That energy works inside your brain along with other podcasts, other blogs, writing, running a business, managing employees, right? There's all this other stuff in that side there. And so taking out a good chunk of physical time also relieves you of a good chunk of mental time. And that mental time means that it's less crowded in there, you know. One of the most productive things that I've ever done in my life is when I discovered that if I leave big 2 and 3 and 4 hour blocks of time in my calendar, lots of productive stuff suddenly shows up and gets done because I haven't crowded out everything else in my calendar. You have to leave room for serendipity to show up in your life. If you don't leave room for creativity and serendipity to show up, it's just not going to be able to get in. It can't force its way into your consciousness. So think about the things in your life that you're doing and make some calculation about how much time they give you, but also be aware that they give you back. If you were to drop something, it would give you back more mental time than you had thought about when you only think in terms of hours and minutes in your day. Now, I can't promise you that it's one-to-one. I don't know exactly how much extra mental time I got back when I quit a podcast, but I will tell you this. It was a lot. It was a lot of extra energy. And it may just be that, you know, when things are squeezed too tightly together, you take out one thing and everything else flows a little more freely inside your head. That's entirely possible. That it didn't give me back that much measurable mental time, but it gave me back enough so that I'm not feeling too squeezed. You know, there's a lot of things we don't know about the brain, but one thing we do know is if you overstress it, then you're going to get less productivity done even at the beginning of the day, the beginning of the week, and then as your energy level goes down, your mental level will go down even faster. So give your brain some breathing room, give it a little extra space, and when you consider the things that you might give up, I would say that you should actually probably, as a rough measure, estimate that you will get back at least as much mental energy as you do physical time. Happy to have any comments, whether you agree with me or not. Please, if you like the video, share it with your friends, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, so forth and so on. For Relax, Focus, Succeed, this is Karl Palachuk, wishing you the best of luck in everything you do.